I'd like to talk to you now about how to add master data into Mapipedia. So if we hover over these tags, the only data that actually comes from the tags are these two ID fields that appear at the top, as well as the date and time that the last snapshot of data came through, and there's a location accuracy and an activity field. But if you want to add a bit more contextual information, such as the sex or the breed or other fields, then we need to add master data. Now this can be a bit tricky, and if you get stuck at all, don't hesitate to call out because we're more than willing to help. So if we click on this master data tab, we can see that currently the only fields that are considered master data, so these are the static fields, are the visual ID and an internal Ceres Tag ID, which isn't usually visible to the end users. So the best way to go about creating master data is to start by downloading the information for the tags that currently exist. So if we click on this download button, we can download data for all the tags, and we can also download the master data. So even though we've not inserted any master data, there is still some master data that's part of the information that comes from the tags itself. Now you need to be careful, you need to agree to this condition because you can't actually share this data with anyone that you want to. It can only be used for internal purposes. And this is a condition imposed by Ceres Tag, not Mapipedia. So any of the software providers have this same condition. So you can't pass this data on to financial institutions or banks or insurance companies or other third parties. The only exception to this is for emergency services such as the police, so they can help you track down stolen animals. If you want to pass the data on to another third party, you do need to get approval from Ceres Tag. So if we click OK, then a CSV file, notice that this is a CSV file, not an Excel file that gets downloaded. And if we expand these columns, we can see there's 4 fields. There's this visual identifier, there's the Ceres Tag ID, as well as the latitude and longitude for the most recent positions that have been recorded. So let's delete those, and then we can add whatever fields we want to. So let's say that we add a sex field, a breed field, a date of birth field, and let's just call it stuff 2, just to show that anything can be put in here. So let's just make up some of this data, but how difficult it is for you to get this data in will depend on how this data is currently stored on your computer. But these fields need to map up with the Ceres Tag ID because that's how the software actually knows which master data belongs to which tags. Hereford. To save time, I'll just create a couple of options. Now the date of birth field is optional, but if you do include it, it means you can start filtering on things like age. So you can say, show me all the animals that are between 2 and 3 years old, because the software is smart enough to calculate the age based on the date of birth. Now, if you don't know the date of birth exactly, you do still need to include a day, a month, and a year, so just put an approximation in. If you only know the month that it was born, just choose the first of the month. Now, we do need to change the date format because this is an ambiguous date format, because if you're an American, you don't know whether this is the 1st of February or whether it's the 2nd of January, because they switch the date and month fields around. So to make sure that it's not ambiguous, we need to change the format of this cell and put in DD for the day, 3 M's, which means we want a 3-letter month abbreviation, and 4 Y's, which means we want to have a 4-digit year displayed. So this is a non-ambiguous international date format that should work anywhere. And then let's put in a bunch of numbers for this last field. So again, notice this is a CSV file, not an Excel file, so that's important. So let's save this, and if we notice that there's got the Ceres Tag summary bracket 15 here. So now if we go over here and we upload this data, we can click on here and import it. Now we'll see that these fields that we've just created have been imported. The type of the field is automatically detected, so the sex and the field and the breed are both texts. The date of birth is date, and the stuff is a number field. And now if we hover over these individual tags, we can see that additional information is appearing in the pop-up. And now we'll be able to use the filter to select a wider range of animals based on this master data, so that we can really hone in on what it is that we want to query. The other important thing is that you do need to save these changes to the server, otherwise they'll be lost. So when you click on, so if this button on the top right is red, that means that you have unsaved changes. So if you click on this, you can select the save option. Now there's a few options here. You can select the creator option, which means only the person who has created this page, or the owner of this page, in this case it's Dr. Dave, will be able to view it when they've got the link, and only when they're logged in. Unlisted means anyone who actually has a link to this page can view it. So you need to be careful with this one, because if the link falls into the wrong hands, you could get in trouble. And this custom option means that you can actually select specific people that you want to have permission to this page. And again, the same sorts of data restrictions apply here. The link to your page cannot be shared with third parties without Ceres Tag's consent, with the exception of emergency vehicles. So you do need to click on this link, and then you can save it. And then it just reminds you of the link up here, but that's the same link as the one here, and you'll notice now this button is green. So now we have created some master data, and you can hover over these tags and the master data is still there, and when we click over here we can see that these fields are still listed. So that's pretty much inserting master data in a nutshell, but if you do need any help, don't hesitate to call out.